Justin Myrick, discussing topics from education to finance. All the advice you'll need on life right here, you'll find it. With kings who weathered every climate and come out shining, so come and get inspired. My uncles and me, it takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me.
What's up, family? Thank you for tuning into the My Uncles and Me podcast, a podcast with a purpose where we have accomplished older men give advice to a younger man on their insight, their wisdom, their knowledge, how they got to be where they are, and what they would say to the younger generation that's coming up after them. So, if that's what you like to hear, then stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome to the My Uncles and Me podcast. I would like to introduce to you another one of our uncles, Mr. Kenny the Mac Miles.
Woo! How much I owe you for that, huh?
No, I mean, hey, listen, I just want to thank you for coming on, during the first season. I'd like to read.
The pleasure's all mine, nephew.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for the invite. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Shaking
too.
and moving, man. You got a little bling bling going there.
This whole thing?
Yeah, man,
listen, you know how I do. You know how I do. All right, so let me read his bio because, sometimes y'all just got to know who y'all looking at and who y'all talking to, right?
Bless you.
So Kenny the Mac Miles, a retired radio personality for over 35 years. He worked for various stations in Kentucky and South Carolina, with the last 14 years of his career spent at WJMZ 107.3 Jams in Greenville. During his tenure there, the station earned several awards, including the highest honor of achievement for a radio station, the coveted Marconi Award 2010. MacMan was the nighttime host of the popular Quiet Storm, where he consistently was the number one show at night based on Arbitron ratings. Number one, all right? He was a sought-after speaker for various civic groups, events, schools, and churches across the upstate. MacMan has also served as the production director for Cox Media Group Greenville for 3 other stations, in addition to 107.3 Jams. He is married to his wife of nearly 33 years, Miss Ann, and they have 2 grown sons. These days, the MacMan enjoys retirement, which consists of traveling, enjoying life, and he's developed a love for cooking. Once again, welcome him to our podcast.
Thank you. Very well done, sir.
Well,
Thank you very much.
But thank you. I'm glad to have you here. I guess just one of my first questions would be, what got you into radio?
I always had a gift of gab, as the old people would tell me. Son, you just run your mouth. You talk too much, but you need to do something with that. And I thought about that. It was a choice between being an undertaker. I wanted to, believe it or not, I wanted to go into mortuary science.
Really?
And being a radio personality. Well, I decided against mortuary science because I was just. My family was encountering a lot of death, and I just thought, I don't think I want to work in an environment where it's only sadness, So I went into radio, and one thing led to another, and it really proved to be a quite fruitful career for me. It was a wonderful career.
Clearly,
I don't, as old folks say, I won't take nothing from a journey. It was a great ride.
Awesome. And so, what part of, are you from South Carolina, or, because I'm
originally from Louisville, Kentucky, born in Cincinnati, Ohio, raised in Louisville, Kentucky, spent the majority of my young life in Louisville, and we left Louisville in 1999, tracked down here my wife and 2 babies, and we came to Columbia, South Carolina to work for a station. We were there at that station in Columbia, South Carolina for a year. Magic 93.1. The capital city's home for R&B and classics.
Okay,
we were there for a short time, and God brought us here to the upstate. Got a great opportunity at 107.3 Jams, and stayed there for 14 years, and ended my career there.
Wow. So what was it about South Carolina that drew you to, out of anywhere you could have gone, what was it about South Carolina?
I never dreamed that I would live here in South Carolina when I was living up in Louisville. But, I just knew that it was time for me to leave Louisville. I'd been there for several years, and I knew that there was another purpose and another plan for my life, and I wasn't content there. And so I was basically just putting the fillers out and, looking for different jobs across the country. And I know I didn't want to be in a big city. I didn't want to be in a place like Atlanta or Los Angeles or New York. I wanted to be in a kind of a medium type market situation that was easy to navigate and so forth. And God just put the upstate in my lap, so to speak. And I came here in October of 2000 after being in Columbia for a year, and never left. Been here since October of 2000. How many years is that now? Going on 24?
I believe so.
Yeah, 24 years. And unless something drastically changes, I'm going to take my last breath here in the beautiful state of South Carolina.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you seem to be enjoying retirement.
I love it. I love it quite well. Thank you.
And so how has that been? Sort of making that transition from, you've got this great radio career, but now you're like retired.
It was a transition because I'll tell you how the Lord works, Justin. Cox Media. This is a great, extraordinary company to work for. It was the highlight of my career working for them. They decided that they were going to divest of their stations in markets like Greenville, Louisville, Richmond, Virginia, several other markets around the country. They wanted to get out of medium-sized radio markets, small to medium-sized radio markets. So they invested, they sold, and so I basically was given an opportunity to receive an exit package, which was quite lucrative and very, very generous. And shortly thereafter, this was May, mind you, of 2013. Shortly thereafter, I was going through something in my body, and I didn't know. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what. So went to my annual checkups and everything, and they took labs and so forth. And I got a call one day. I was on my way to the barbershop. I got a call from my doctor and says, Mr. Miles, how are you? And I says, think I'm doing okay. You calling me? Am I?
Right.
And she says, are you driving right now? I know, because I was out and you could hear the traffic flow.
Right.
And she says, to make a long story short, there are some concerns that we see in your labs. Concerns. And we need to investigate it further. And I says, oh my, so what is it? Am I going to live, doctor? And she says, we just need to look at it. She says, I said, what? What do you think? She says, well, just looking at the preliminary stages, it looks like it could possibly be carcinoma, which is cancer.
Right.
And I said, oh my. She says, but we'll investigate it. So one thing led to another through a series of tests and so forth and going back and forth. I went in thinking that I had bowel duct cancer, but I had to get operated on.
Really?
And 62.5% of my liver was resected.
Really?
To determine that I wasn't cancer, but it was a condition. It's a liver disease called PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis. I don't mean to get too further into my medical situation, but God works, and He knew that what I was going to be faced with, that I really didn't have, I shouldn't have had the pressure of trying to worry about a job, holding a job down.
Yes, sir. Because
I went through a lot with my health. It was quite a lengthy recovery period, and I couldn't work. Right. So God sees things even before we do, and He puts us, I believe, in situations to where we can navigate. He says the old saying goes, if He brings you to it, He'll bring you through it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a firm believer that I'm a living witness of that.
No.
And,
wow.
So God is good. I'm under doctor's care, will be for the rest of my life, but I'm doing quite well.
You seem to be doing quite well whenever we see you out. We'll see. Listen, for y'all don't know, okay, if you really want to catch him, All right, then you will catch this man at QT.
QT.
Okay, I don't know what
I love
it
the
is.
crushed ice. Oh my
QT.
God.
We catch my QT. Got some lottery tickets by the napkins. The crushed ice.
And I'm great friends there. They're just wonderful friends, and
See, he
they
know
all
the people.
and they all love me.
He know the people.
They all
Okay,
love me.
so listen, he has made a full recovery.
Yeah, they always say,
and, you
come,
know,
come get a cup of coffee or me. I said, sure, I love coffee.
no, you really do. You really do.
Yes,
you and my
yes.
dad, y'all would get along.
Yes.
Y'all would get along.
Yeah, I love Papa. I know Papa. I've met Papa. We've talked on occasion, not often, but he's a good man.
He is.
He's a good man.
He is. He
Yes,
is.
he is.
Gotta love him.
And your mother is just lovely. I've known Lisa down through the years, and she's just a wonderful friend, just a sister girl. And it's almost like a brother and sister type of vibe when we talk.
I get that.
Nothing that never pretentious or makeup. It's always just real and authentic.
Exactly.
And that's the vibe.
That's the vibe it should be.
That's right.
That's the vibe it should be.
That's right.
Now,
Yes.
I've got some more questions from you. I actually do have one question.
Okay.
Because we had a conversation earlier, way back when I was going to college, and I do think, especially as like something that like a young black man just went through, I do think it would be nice for you to talk about, because you and me and Mom, we did talk about it. But the first thing, we'll get to that, but I do want to start off with, how important is it to have a dad in the home, given that we were just talking about, dad and stuff like that?
Well, I think it's very, very important. I can tell you that I didn't have that growing up. I was raised primarily in a single family home. Didn't know I don't call him a dad because he wasn't. For lack of a better way of saying it, he was a sperm donor.
Right.
And that I never knew my sperm donor. But and that motivated me, because I always thought, if I have children, when I have children, I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure that I'm a good dad, and that's what I tried to do. Now, is it a game change? Is it a game breaker that you don't have a father? No. I mean, you can navigate through that, but I really believe that to have proper balance in family life, I think the mom should be in place, and I think the dad should be there as well. It's very important for family structure and stability.
Right. And so what's something that you would say to someone who doesn't have a father trying to, I guess, succeed or navigate? Like, what do you think is one of the biggest things that you learned,
Well,
that you would try to pass on to them?
You gotta have a strong work ethic. You gotta really give it all you got. I was in A.L. Williams many years ago, and Art Williams, the president of the company, he had this old saying. He says, all you can do is all you can do. But all you can do is enough, because you can't do no more than all you can do. I think you have to have a very strong work ethic, and you got to have the spirit that nobody owes me anything. I have to go after it. I have to get it for myself. I have to go for it. Some things you must do for yourself, or it will never be done. And I always had that, and I learned that from the old people, the old guys, the old gals that would come into my life and drop gems of knowledge and inspiration to me. Said, son, you got to do this, you got to do that. Son, you can't be lazy. You got to get up. You got to get up early. You can't lay in bed all day. You got to keep your job. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to have drive. You got determination. Son, you got to get yourself in college. You got to get you some kind of degree. You got to get you some kind of trade. And I took that from the old guys, and I was able, with God's grace and mercy, to navigate a really good career in radio broadcasting. And I didn't get rich, but I made a very good living, and raised my children. We have a great lifestyle, and God is good. But I say, if your father, God will be your father. Gotta be your mother, but you gotta have something in you. Okay, despite of my situation, I don't have a dad living with me. I'm gonna grow up to be the best man I can possibly be.
Right.
And you read your Bible. Have a Christ-centered life. I believe in Christ. I believe that He is the center of my being, and without Him, I'm nothing. So I can't accomplish great things without Christ. So you have to have that in your center, and you just have to have a strong work ethic. that you're gonna give it all you got, and you're gonna pay the price, and you're not gonna make excuses. You're either gonna make excuses or you're gonna make money. Can't do both.
That sounds like something she would say, right? Her right there.
Oh, Lisa, that's
yes,
Lisa.
You, ma'am.
That's Lisa all the way.
Yes, you, ma'am.
That's Lisa all the way.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
Do you two text each other?
I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear excuses.
That sounds like something she would say.
How you can't get it done. We're going to get it done by any means necessary. You know, even if it takes me a long time, I'm going to get it done.
Right.
I'm going to eventually get it. That's one thing about me. Kenny Miles, Kenny Miles got a made up mind. It may beat me to death doing it, but I'll die trying. I will give it all I got. And that's so important.
All right, so Mr. Kenny, thank you for sticking with us through that technical difficulty.
Absolutely. Hey, you know, I'm a retired broadcaster, so you know I'm used to technical difficulties.
Well, thank you.
That was the order of the day.
Right. So, I do have a question. Now, you were talking about having, perseverance, work ethic, having drive. Do you think? Hold on, let me just sit right there.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Let me cross my legs on that too, huh?
So, do you think my generation is babied? As far as.
Well, this is what I think about that. I think that as people who grew up and didn't have a lot, which when I grew up, I didn't have a lot. And I always said that, when I grow up, when I get children, when I get married and get children, I'm going to give them everything I didn't get. Well, I think sometimes in that great intentions that parents have, I think they have a tendency of probably going overboard and probably doing too much to stifle the determination that. Give you a case in point. I did make my kids work. They had to cut grass. At a certain age, they had to get jobs. 15, 16 years old, yes, you got to get your job because you got to know the value of work. But I think that a lot of young people today don't think that they have to pay the price. They think that, okay, my mom and dad, they provided a lifestyle, and they get in a certain comfort zone that is really fake. It's not, you get in a comfort zone that is not, that is, okay, first off, what your parents did doesn't have anything to do with you. You still have to go out there and make your own way in life. And I think that a lot of kids today, there are good kids out here that really are strong and great minds, great innovative thinkers. But I also think a lot of kids that they mail it in. They don't want to pay the price. They think that somebody owes them something. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying that there's a nice chunk of young people today that don't have the drive and determination to get out there and get it for themselves. They blame, I didn't get this done. I didn't do this because how I was raised, or how this or how that. And after a while, you got the excuses, they go out the window. It's about results. What did you do? God's gonna judge us at the end of I believe at the end of our days, God's gonna judge us, and He's gonna ask us, what did you do with the days, with the time that I gave you, that I allotted you? What did you do with that time? And we gotta give an account of it. And I do believe that, and I believe that you gotta make your calling and election sure. You gotta make sure that you got a good and legible answer when God asks you, what did you do with your time on earth? I believe that. So I believe I'm gonna use it all up until when I always tell my children, when I leave this earth, the world's not gonna owe me any change, because I'm gonna spend it all up. I'm gonna spend it.
I like that. So, like, growing up, did you I guess given with the huge ascension in technology, did you ever limit your kids as far as any screen time, or did you ever try and I guess not keep them from technology, but at least try and make sure that they weren't getting too they weren't getting sucked into it?
You try to monitor what your kids do, but they're gonna find out. They're gonna sneak and see things and do things, and as parents, all you can do is lay the foundation. You can't keep your kids from everything. I was never naive to think that I was, because we are not our only kids' influence. In fact, sometimes we're a very, very small piece of influence in our kids' lives. Our kids are influenced by many things, and the devil comes in different forms and shapes and sizes and ways, and he's not this ugly creature with a pitchfork in his hand. He comes in many, many different enticing ways.
That part right there.
And that's very, very important to note. I try to, I had my oldest son. I love you, man. I'm gonna tell you, you were something else. Raising you.
It's always when they say, "All right, my oldest."
It's always one.
It's always when they start off with, "I love you."
Exactly.
But
but it's always one. But he just always pushed the envelope, and he had influences that he was, sometimes people, the streets are a big influence on our young people.
So what would you say about I guess just like, I guess staying off the streets or staying out of, all the riffraff, because there is a lot of it,
Yes.
Especially when it comes to, I guess, people in my age and younger. And I've seen where a lot of people my age, they fall into it at a young age and they really struggle and they really find it hard to get out of it and
Well,
to
let me
make
ask you something.
of them.
How do you do it? You're a great young man, and you got your head on straight. What is your secret?
Oh, here you go, y'all.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I gotta turn the tables back on you. You got a mother that'll put her.
Yes,
put her
she will.
boot in your-
She won't, but she will break her foot off. if
He'll
you-
break her foot off.
Break her foot off. But
Absolutely.
no, I mean, that's definitely one of them. I have noticed is
Yes.
having a strong parents. Also listening, because I'm gonna be honest. I've seen many cases where, the parent. We've seen this here at the agency where they've got. The parent wants this for the kid. The kid has a great support system, but the kid doesn't want to listen.
The kid is rebellious.
Yes, they're rebellious. They don't want to listen. They don't
Yes.
want to, any type of structure or authority. They don't vibe with it when
That's
it's
right.
like you can't get ahead even if you have all the help in the world to want to help.
And see, that's the
if
thing.
you don't work with it, you won't get anywhere.
That's
So,
the thing, Justin. You have to be young people. You've got to know that you don't know it all. You don't know it all. There are people that have come up and they have been where you're trying to go. I mean, I'm not saying that I know everything, but listen to me, son. Listen to me, daughter. I got something that's hopefully going to eliminate you from making the pitfalls that either I made or people along the way have made that you can prevent if you just listen. Listening is so important. They give you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen more
That's a
than
bar.
you talk. And I know that there's a big thing with young people. You gotta respect me. You gotta put some spec on it. Well, you have to. Respect isn't given; it's earned. And you gotta listen to somebody, so that you can be, because somebody's going to depend on you to give them some advice later down the road. In whatever capacity in your life it is. You may be an older person. Somebody's going to depend on you for your wisdom, and hopefully you'll be able to impart some to them. If you don't listen, you're not going to learn. That's my whole gist of what I'm trying to say.
Right. No, I mean it's very, very, very true. It's very smart. It's something I've had to learn my own self, where I'm like, if I didn't listen, in times where it's like I didn't listen then, but then later on I'm like, oh, had I listened, then I would be. I think that's one
Absolutely.
thing. I think another thing is staying productive.
Yes.
Like when I got laid off.
I know mine's the devil's workshop.
Yes.
That's when you can get in some serious trouble.
Yes, and that's one thing that. Back to her. Yes, you, ma'am. Yes, you. She does not, or rather, both of them. They don't let me sit still, because when I got laid off in California, they were like, "Okay,
That was a
come
tough
back
time
home."
for you. That was a tough time for you. That was a trying period for you.
It was. It was like your whole world is. I don't want to say it's spinning in a sense, but you're like, "Oh, what do I do? Where do I go?" And so I called them, and then I told them what happened. And they were like, "All right, come back home." Like there wasn't like a, oh, how do you feel? It wasn't like a this, that. It was literally like, okay, we understand this happened. come back home.
Come on
Like
back
that was
home.
the first thing,
That's
because
right.
they were like, all right, break your lease, come back home. And you know, I talked to her about it when I got home, because I drove myself home. I drove.
Oh, you drove from LA to South Carolina?
Yeah, I
Oh,
drove.
wow.
I packed up my entire.
How about that?
It was a crazy week, because it's like you get laid off that one Friday. You know, you have that last weekend in LA.
Oh, you drove all your stuff back?
Yes, sir. I
Oh.
moved, like I broke my lease.
Oh,
and the
wow.
thing is, the way it happened was because when you were talking about how God works in mysterious ways,
yes.
it was interesting because, you know, they were supposed to come pick me up December of 2023, but I got laid off in like April, and so I was like, oh, you guys aren't gonna come help me move out? They were like, no, we aren't. You have to go move your stuff out. And I was like, okay. You know, that is one thing that I did notice. I was like,
I like that.
okay. I was like,
That's,
all right.
That's me. That's
like-
what I do. I don't believe in holding hands. You do, and I'll help.
Right, and that's what it was. They were like, all right, listen.
I'm like,
we'll
God,
tell
if you
what
make
to
one
do."
step, I'll make two. But you got to do something.
Exactly.
You got to initiate.
Yes,
You
they
got
were
to
like,
initiate.
all right, you know, pack up, and they were telling me, you know, all right, you know, like, have you did this with HR? You know, have you gotten this email? Have you sent this form back? Have you know, they were giving me, helping me out, but really it was, they were like, all right, you are old enough now. Of course we're gonna help you. We're gonna be checking in. We're gonna make sure you're okay.
Right.
But it still is you who's doing this. So
That's right.
that
If it's to be, it's up to me.
yes. And they were like, listen, you got to get yourself home. So I packed up my entire apartment.
Good for you.
In that one Chevy Cruze. Shout out to the Chevy Cruze, because it got me through art school, and then and the car didn't have a spare tire.
Okay.
I didn't know.
have a spare tire.
No, I didn't know that, because we were talking about just like, oh, God's
Wow.
kept you safe. Because Mom was, because I got really down after I got home. Mom was like, well, you need to think of how God's kept you safe. And I was like, has he really?
Man.
Like I was giving her attitude. I was like, has he really? And she's like, son.
You were doubting God because you were in a low moment.
It was a low moment, because you have this, to me it was like a dream job
And that's
in a dream city, and you know, I had the luxury
That's
apartment.
That's
you
normal.
know.
That's normal, man. To feel defeated when you go through adversity.
I will tell you one thing that
But God has not forgot.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because I went the last church service that I went there, the preacher, he was talking about when God strips you of things. He was like, oh, because I was sitting there and it was like my last Sunday in LA, and he was like, oh, you know, when God strips you of the opportunity, no, he strips you of the job, he strips you of the, you know, the apartment, he strips you of this, of that. He's like, there's a reason why all that's happening, and he's like, you should be prepared, because he's like, when God takes all of that away from you, he's like, that's not your final destination. You need to be ready to go to the next level, or wherever God wants to take you, because that's not your last. No, it was really interesting, the timing, because it was like that Friday, but then that Sunday, that's when I heard that, and then I was like back home that next Sunday after having driven through. It was something in my spirit.
You drove what, 2-3 days?
Yes, sir, 3 days. I did not want to do it, which is how I knew it was God messing with me, because in my spirit, I was like,
He was testing you.
yeah, I was like, God, I don't want to do this. And that was like the last thing. I got out of it when we first went out there, because Dad was like, I'll drive the car, and then you and Mom fly out. And I was like, oh, word? Okay. But then on the way back, like pretty much that year later, it was like, all right, you have to do this.
That's right, you have to do this.
You know, so I was like, all right,
That's right.
fine. And it was a little daunting at first. And of course, they were calling on the phone.
But you grew up.
I did.
That's an experience that you would not have had, and it was a part of your molding and making stage. You know, we don't learn anything when things are going well and things are going just easy. We learn through challenge. We learn through hard times. We learn through persecution and tribulation. That's when you learn. That's when you become strong, and that's when you become anchored. You know, don't get me wrong. Nobody wants to go through struggle, but it's all a part of life. You know, being defeated. That's all a part of life. Feeling that feeling of defeat, despondency. You know, you lose a job, you lose a career. You know, you lose a loved one. You know, any kind of loss is devastating. But you know, it's just having that in you to know that, hey, you know, I gotta go on. There's something better out here for me. There's something out here, and I gotta keep moving.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a bar right there. Now, we For those of you who don't know, me and Mac Man here have spoken lots of times about colleges,
Yes.
About HBCUs,
Yes.
PWIs,
Yes.
and I don't think I could have you on this show. Because it was actually one of the first conversations I remember having from you. We were in, what was it, Bilo at the time?
Yes.
And you were trying to give me advice, and you were talking, because I was telling you about my major.
Yes.
And a lot of people were telling me, oh, you need to go to an HBCU, you need to go to an HBCU. And I was like, but an HBCU doesn't have my major, doesn't have what I'm actually, wanting to do. And you were telling me something, but you can't say it on the air. But you were basically telling me, listen, you go where you need to go.
And let me preface this. I am a firm believer of HBCUs. I mean, I believe in HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. I was a big fan of Tom Joyner. Admire his work and what he did with HBCUs during his time on the air. And HBCUs are useful and can be great schools. But I just believe in being well-rounded. I don't think that you just have to go to a school just to say, okay, go to HBCU. You have to go where you have to plant yourself to where you can grow. And if an HBCU doesn't offer what I need as far as a major is concerned, then I'm going to obviously have to look elsewhere. Like journalism. Journalism was my major in college. I mean, I went to University of Louisville. Jefferson Community College, which is a subsidiary of University of Kentucky system. Then I went to University of Louisville. University of Louisville had a good communications program. Now, there are a lot of HBCUs that don't, and I could have just for the sake of going to HBCU just to say I go. That wouldn't have helped me.
Right.
So you have to go to where you can get a good education and you can get a good knowledge base, so you can get a good job.
Right. And I don't want to seem like I'm knocking HBCUs.
I'm not anti-HBCU.
I'm not. But I just have noticed, in my experience.
We talking jest off air, off camera. We talking jest, but I'm definitely pro HBCU.
Right. And I've seen, and I'm just speaking from my experience. A lot of people have wanted me to, and I'm like, I would like to, and they seem like they're a lot of fun.
They party a lot over at HBCU.
They seem like they're a lot of fun. I've seen the step shows and I've seen the step shows and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, but it's also not, it's kind of not, I guess not what I need.
That's not where you are.
Right. Yeah. So I do think that's something that, maybe someone else who's, picking a college, maybe some new experience. Because my mom went to an HBCU.
Yeah.
We know a lot.
Where did you go to school, Lisa?
South Carolina State.
Hey.
Bulldogs.
State. Yes, indeed. Orangeburg.
Orangeburg.
I spent a lot of time in Orangeburg at several events and doing radio broadcasts there. Good fun.
Undergrad was South Carolina State.
Them folk know how to party at South Carolina State. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anywho.
All right, well, we're going to get off the topic. So another question I have for you is about money and about managing your money wisely. So how did you, make your money work for you instead of you working for money? Because that's another thing. I've seen a lot of people in my generation, due to, the rising cost of living.
Sure.
We have noticed a lot of things are incredibly expensive these days, where a lot of people have had to pick up, 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. We're seeing the economy shift more towards a gig economy. So I'm just wondering what you can say about that.
I think that we as black people, we have to get more into an investment mindset in our finances.
Say it loud.
You just cannot spend everything you make. You have to portionalize your income in stages. Okay, I'm going. This amount is for expenses and overhead. This amount I'm going to allocate for my tithes and offering. For those of us church-going folk, saints of God. Then you got to allocate a certain amount in investments. And the good thing about my career at Cox Media is they had so many investment programs for us to get into. We were able to buy stock in the company. They had just an extraordinary 401k program where they matched dollar on a dollar, and it was just extraordinary. And then there were other investment outlets that I did. I did IRAs, and I think you have to look. You have to be you have to be cognizant of, okay, I'm not going to always be here, so I need to, the money that I'm making, I need to invest in something that is going to be able to multiply, and I can look back on it 5, 10 years, 15 years down the road and say, God, I did this, I got this money here, and don't touch it, unless of course you get into a real, life is not ideal. Sometimes we get in tough spots, tough jams, but for the most part, when you're investing, you need to put that money there and keep it there, and buy your home, get some kind of real estate, so that you could say, this is mine. Partner living is okay initially for the first few years of your life, but you need to have something you can say is mine. Put roots down. It's very important. You got to be good steward. We got to be good stewards of our money, regardless of how much we make. Whatever you make, you have to be good stewards of it, and you have to, as you say, you got to pimp it out. You got to pimp that paycheck out, and you got to pimp it out in a good way that you can see it
right
later down the road. See, I'm living off of stuff that I did 10, 15, 20 years ago, Justin.
That's a bar right there.
That's a bar. I'm living on stuff I did, decisions I made, I'm living on it now, 15, 20, 25 years ago. And that's how you gotta look at, you gotta look at your life as, I know we don't know how much time we have, and we can't look into the future. But you do have to have a forecast, where do I see myself 5, 10, 15 years down the road, if life holds out. I say, if it be your will, Lord, I want to be here. I want to see myself here 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now. 20 years or 20 years from now, 20 years ago I said, I'm going to have my house paid for. Haven't quite gotten there yet, but I'm almost there. And so you got to have goals. You got to have goals and long-term forecasts, because the bottom line is this: if I'm not here, then how do I want to leave my affairs for my family? That's how I look at it.
Right.
So I look past my existence. I look at theirs. What kind of legacy do I want to leave for my family?
And so I guess that kind of rolls over into, my question about building generational wealth. That one right
That
there.
is so powerful.
You see how that works?
Yes.
Now listen, if you are looking for her anywhere,
Yes.
yell out generational wealth and she will pop up.
And she'll pop up.
Matter of fact, say generational wealth 3 times and she'll pop up.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Get over here, Lisa.
Exactly.
Generational wealth.
Because and the thing is, she talks about it a lot. I say that because she talks about it a lot. And
it's real. It's very, very important. I believe that we have to be more business minded as black people, as people of color. You have to, there should not be, God bless you, when your days have ended, folks should not have to take up offering to have your final service.
Well, that's a bar.
I was raised that you have to have insurance on everything. Your life, your appliances, your cars, your home, everything that is got to be insured. You got to insure everything. You got to make sure that, okay, I'm going to have enough money to be able to do what I need to do. And my wife and I, we love to travel and go places. It takes money.
It does.
It ain't cheap. They say it don't cost nothing to go there. Yes, it does, because it takes gas. You got to get on the airplane. So you got to ride. You know what I'm going to do this summer? You said something. You brought something up where you drove cross country from Los Angeles back home.
Yes, sir.
We're going to do that this summer in Utah. We're going to drive out to Utah. We have some dear friends that live in the really beautiful mountainous area of Utah, Salt Lake City. And my wife and I, we're going to drive. We're going to get into the SUV. We're going to get in the SUV and we're going to drive for about 2 days. And we're going to. You see? Do you ever see the Family of Praise? Alfred Woodard and
Kathy Bates.
Yes,
sir.
They went on that road trip. That's what Miss Ann and I are going to do. We've never driven. I think the furthest we've driven is from Louisville to Miami. That's the furthest we've been, which is a nice haul.
Yeah, I was like 16,
17, 18 hours. But yeah, we're gonna do that so we can say we drove out west and back.
What time of year? Cause
it's gonna be summer.
Listen. You ain't hear this from me.
Uh-oh.
But you're used to humidity. All right, you're used to humidity. Out there, it's a dry.
It is hot too.
It does get hot, especially out in like those desert areas, like
Arizona, Nevada.
Yeah, out there in the desert and whatnot. But just make sure you have.
But
good
see,
AC.
hot is hot. People say, "Oh, it's a dry heat. It's a different kind of heat." Hot is hot.
No, dry heat is different. I'm telling you, dry heat is different. Because I was out there and I was like, "Oh, this wasn't bad." And 30 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh Lord."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I'm not used to this type of heat." And it gets to like 100.
Some water in you,
100 plus degrees.
Fluids.
So just make sure you have like a good AC. Make sure you have like a spare tire because there will be. I'm not sure where the Mojave Desert is. I think I drove through it.
Mojave Desert, if I'm not mistaken, is going toward Arizona and Nevada, isn't it?
I'm not sure where it is. I know I drove through some desert.
No, that's California. Mojave.
We drove through Mojave.
Yeah, because it's like
after like a day and a half in the desert.
Yeah, because it's like you don't see anything. It's like you pass one last town, and there's no sign that says you're now entering the desert. You just stop seeing stuff. You're driving, and you just stop seeing stuff like a good 200 miles, and then you're like, oh, look at this.
Mojave Desert is...
Because I know it's somewhere out there.
In California.
Yep, then I've driven through it.
California.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's no sign, there's no, oh, you're leaving this. Something just told me, get gas, because it's the last, something just said, boy, you better stop and get gas now.
I'm telling you.
And I'm glad I did, because I didn't see civilization for like the next 3 or 4 hours, and I was like...
Isn't that something?
It's just
there's wild animals out there.
Well, I was in the day. Thankfully, I drove through during the day.
Good.
But it's just like you just stop seeing stuff, and you're just like, oh, all right, I'll get to my next town, and you don't get to your next town.
God help you if you didn't get those cheese and crackers and a soda.
God help you
for the next 3 or 4 hours.
God help you if you didn't use the bathroom. Like, listen, if you didn't use the bathroom, I was like, oh Lord.
I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, but no, it's something.
Where's a cup? Where's a cup or a bottle? Whoops.
A cup or a bottle. Listen. I hope you don't pee by the wrong cactus.
Amen. Isn't that the truth?
But no, driving out there can be fun.
Yeah.
Because you see how the landscape
We're looking forward
changes.
to it. We're looking forward to it.
I think you'll like it.
It's something that, and we're gonna go to. Obviously we'll go through. Colorado and Colorado's such a beautiful state. And,
no, I didn't go through Colorado.
You didn't?
No, I went through California and then Arizona, New Mexico, Texas.
So we're not quite going as far as you were.
Okay.
So we're going to Utah. So it's not
sir.
quite as far as California, but it's such a beautiful country.
No,
and it's out west.
It's trippy to see the landscape change because out there it's just desert, and then it's like you can tell you're getting east because you're seeing more grass. It's like at first you just see like grain and everything's like all like yellowish and like weedy, and then as you get to like the East Coast, let's see around like Oklahoma, that's when you start to see like green. Right. And I was like, oh, green! I was like, I hadn't seen this in a while.
So I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer.
Right. I was like,
to home.
Exactly. So to see the landscape change, I'm not gonna lie, it really made me think like. This is trippy because you're driving, especially in Arizona. When I was driving through the mountains, I was like, this is trippy. And I stopped in New Mexico, and I had a Myrtle Beach, I had a red Myrtle Beach hoodie on, and that's what I drove in. And I was speaking to a lady, and I had just stopped for gas. And I was like, and it was the clearest day. I will never forget this. It was the clearest day, and she's talking to me, and she's like, oh, are you from Myrtle Beach? And I forgot I had the hoodie on. And I was like, huh? I was like, oh yeah, I'm from South Carolina. I'm driving, I explained to her, I'm driving back from Los Angeles to home. And she's like, oh, I went to Myrtle Beach. I love it. I go there like every year. I loved it. And she's like, have you looked up at the clouds? And I was like, no, ma'am. And she's like, look up at the clouds. And she's like, have you noticed that they're closer? And I was like, no, ma'am. And she's like, yeah, when you go outside, look up at the clouds and notice how much closer they are. And I was like, oh, why is that? And she's like, because you're at an elevation of 5,000 feet. You're 5,000 feet closer to the sky. And I was like, oh. And I walked out and I was like, holy crap. And you just see how big the clouds are, how bright it is. And I was like, oh,
it's beautiful.
Albuquerque.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful world out there.
It
really is.
It is.
And that's another thing. I really encourage people to travel and get out of your comfort zone. Leave home sometimes and go somewhere. I'm not talking about going to Greenville or
Or
Lawrence. I'm talking about going somewhere. Schedule a trip. You know, you don't realize how expanding your horizon really helps you to embody mind and spirit. It helps you. Traveling is extraordinarily important. It's a great therapy.
Right.
At least it is for me. I love it.
No, it
I
is.
love
That's
traveling.
something we like to do. You know,
Yes.
we've been to like Canada. We've been to Barbados.
I want to go to Canada.
We just went to Niagara Falls.
I want to go to Niagara Falls in Canada. I've been to the Bahamas. I've been to Cancun, Mexico.
Okay.
I've been to, let's see, we've been to, where else have we gone in the Caribbean? I said Bahamas. I said, yeah, that's pretty much where we've gone. But we want to go, we want to do some overseas travel eventually. We want to go to places like Sweden. I want to go to a couple countries in Africa. I'm just kind of,
There she goes.
just kind of,
There she goes.
Africa is kind of, you know, you have to be very, very careful. I mean, you got to make sure you get your vaccinations and all that kind of stuff, as I know that they have problems with different diseases. I want to go and see the Queen, but she went on home on me. I wanted to go see the Queen. I always admire the Queen.
Right.
And it's amazing. I said, Lord, this is a woman that's never gonna die, and she did.
No, a lot of people on Twitter, Black Twitter, we were like, listen, this woman is not gonna quit.
That's right.
She has like, and we were saying she's just
love the Queen.
Yeah, no,
just what she stood for, and just her presence was just really something.
Mm-hmm. I think that ties into when you pick a college in another state, which is something I did because I was because the first college I went to was Ball State University. It was in Muncie, Indiana.
Right. Hoosier country.
Yes, Hoosier did not know what I was in for with Hoosier country.
Yes.
But that was it was for music, you know. So I was studying like classical piano. It's a very theory heavy school. But
Are they very racist there?
You know, I didn't really encounter any racism.
That's good.
Everyone I met, because there's a lot of black people there. You know, it's classified as a PWI, but there's a lot of black people there. You know, and there's actually one person or a couple people I still talk to this day from that school. And you know, the piano professor I had, he was an absolute monster on the keys. So, and he was.
What do you play? You play piano?
Yes, sir. When I was there, that was the instrument I was learning. And they had great equipment. They had like Steinway piano, stuff like that. It was awesome.
What do you plan on doing with it?
I still, you know, I do make music. For those of you who don't know, you know, I do like, I write my own songs, I do covers and stuff like that. So I'm still using that. But then also when I went to Savannah, because, you know, I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design with honors, I actually had not heard of the city of Savannah. And it's so funny, my parents went there before me. You know, they were just like, oh, we just gonna go, it's a little couple's date, you know. Mama was like, oh, we just gonna go down to Savannah, you know, we gonna be a little cute, you know. And so I was like, all right, I get the house for like, you know, a weekend or whatever.
I know that's right.
So I didn't know about it, but then, you know, a couple years later, that's actually where I was.
Right.
So, but you know, it just speaks that the more you get out and you see the world and you see, because now I love Savannah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's beautiful down there.
Yes, the historic district.
Yeah.
I always think fondly.
Very much like Charleston too. Charleston, South Carolina is nice. It has a lot of historic significance to it.
So, you know, just the more that you see, the more you see the different cultures in each area.
Right.
I think so. Seeing the different cultures.
That's
in
very
each
important
area,
for growth.
It is. It is. And I think also just and me as an artist, I think it was really cool to see. Because while I was there at SCAD, I was exposed to so many different cultures because they've got kids coming in from every country. They've got Chinese, they've got Russians, they've got, you know, Latin. It's just, you see, it's like, it is a melting pot. So you see, you also are exposed to other cultures. They're exposed to you, you know. It's really cool. But I think it also does kind of inform you about so many things, about history, about how to deal with people, about, you know.
That's why it's so important to expand your horizons.
Yes.
You know, you need to experience more than just your own kind. You need to be able to mingle with other people and to interact with other people of other races. It's very, very important. It's a big world out here. It's a lot to explore. It's a lot to endeavor in, and I encourage everybody to do that.
Yes, sir. I think it definitely helps as far as like networking, which is something that I had to get used to when I came back from California.
Networking is so important.
What would you say about networking to someone who is very, very new to it? You know, especially a younger person who.
Well, a man can't be an island. I mean, you cannot. And you cannot succeed in life without networking. You cannot, opportunities exist in so many areas. You can't get to every area. You don't know everything. That's why you got to know people that can navigate you to different opportunities. I believe in that. I've always believed in networking, and it's essential. It's not something that's a luxury. It's essential. If you want to make it in life, you have to network. You have to network. You have to network in many things. You have to. I mean, we've been able to network just from a personal standpoint. Networking. I mean, we got handyman out of the wazoo. We know people who does roofing. We electricity. Had a man brother come to my house the other day, black-owned electrician out of Greenville, and did some electrical work for me. You got to network. You got to be able to know people who know people who know people, and that makes life better. Just makes life better.
No, it does. So, what else would you have to say, I guess, just about someone who's like starting their business, or someone who's looking to like excel in a professional field? What would you have to say to them? I'm not sure if.
Well, you have to learn. You have to get with people who are where you want to be. If you want to be a doctor, you're gonna have to try to meet doctors. You're gonna have to try to get how can I get an internship? How can I? That's what I did in radio. Internships. I worked a couple of years without getting paid in radio.
Really?
Initially, absolutely.
Really?
Because I wanted it, and if you want something, you got to pay the price. And I was willing to do it for no money.
And what was that like working? And were you just like sitting in and learning the lay of the land?
I would sit and learn, and then as I was sitting and learning, I was able to just start doing. They pushed me out there. Okay, you do this. Okay, you write this newscast up, and you're going to deliver it. You're going to do the news next hour. And I thought, the first time that I got a chance to get on the microphone, I was horrific. But I had to start. That was a start. So you have to start. You have to get out of your fears. Believe it or not, I was a shy kid. I was really scared to get up.
Don't tell me that.
True
lie. Don't tell me that.
True that, brother. I'm telling you. I had a shyness. I had a fear. I was scared of folks. But I conquered it by getting up there and doing it.
Right.
Shaking like a leaf, a voice shaking. But guess what? I did it enough to where it became comfortable. I mean, if I get up in front of people, there's still a little bit of nervousness, but I can conquer it because I've done it. I've done it before. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to just whatever you want to do, you have to surround yourself with people who've done it. If you want to be a actor, you gotta meet people like Justin, who's been where you're trying to go.
Well, thank you.
If you want to be in broadcasting. I'm not in broadcasting anymore. I'm retired, but I can point you in the right direction to go. You have to get with people who are where you're trying to go.
Right.
And that's so very important. It's all in the networking here again, and you can't just don't give up.
So
and just work your tail off because it's not going to come easy. You have to be willing to work.
that is true. So what would you say is one of the more like funnier experiences you've had in radio? Like some of your best experiences that you just look back on and you just like, it's like, oh, that was.
I worked with a bunch of clowns. I think the most of our good work was off air. I mean, with the way we cut up and acted a fool and just laughing all the time. I mean, we were just a house, just an office full of just very, very funny, committed people. I mean, we wasn't trying to be funny, just funny,
right?
Just witty. I mean, we and of course, I think the highlight of my radio life was meeting a lot of interesting people, like some of the stars that would come through, like Gerald Levert, the late great Gerald Levert, and people just come in. That's the one thing about our business. I mean, different people come in from the street, off the street, on the road, from the road. People like Patti Labelle, people like
met Patti
After
Labelle?
7. Oh God, I've met Patti a couple of times.
No, what's Patti?
You know,
What's
Patti
what's
is
Miss Patti Pie?
a beautiful person. She really, believe it or not, she's kind of quiet and reserved. But when
She's got such a huge
you get
voice,
her
though.
going, she's there. When
She's
you get
got
her
such a
going, she's
huge
there.
voice.
And she's always so thankful. Thank y'all for playing my music. Just a very sweet person. Just very, and I love her. I've met several people. Aretha Franklin. Aretha was a little more reserved. Riri was reserved.
Riri has such a huge voice, though.
Riri
She
didn't
was
play.
a beast
Riri
on
didn't
the
play.
mic.
Riri was all about her money. She didn't play now.
I don't blame her.
She didn't play. Shirley Caesar, a clown, just beautiful person.
Really?
Just. I can go on and on. Lee Williams, just a wonderful person. Just Melvin Williams, crazy. Just a showman to his heart. I can think of so many people that I've met. Walter Cronkite. You don't remember Walter Cronkite, do you?
I've heard of him.
Legendary newsman back in the 60s and 70s. I met him at a derby during a derby weekend at Captain's Quarters in Louisville. I was able to sit down with him and talk, and had him on tape. I got that tape somewhere in my box of stuff at home. But he was just such an extraordinary man, just an avuncular figure, that father figure that you just listen to. I could listen to him all day, talking about different things relating to broadcasting and some of his experiences. He was telling me about how when he had to break the news that President Kennedy had died after being shot. That was an incredible moment. And just a lot of interesting people that I was able to meet down through the years, my 36 years in broadcasting. It was just extraordinary. So, like the old folks say, I wouldn't take nothing from my journey. It's been a great ride.
Awesome.
It's been a great ride.
Awesome.
It's been great with you too, my man.
No, thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate
Really
you
enjoyed
having
it.
Appreciate
My
you.
man, my nephew, and my sister there, Lisa. Y'all, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed
Well,
it.
I appreciate you being on the show.
Have me
You know
back
you go-
anytime.
Oh, you're gonna be back for season 2.
All right, sounds good.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it.
It takes my uncles and me